I continue. When I went that day for the prescription, Dr. Darby said to me, "You look pale, Lorna. It's the London atmosphere. Come on a picnic with us in the car on Saturday." After that, I went with the Darbys more and more. I liked them, but I didn't like the mess. So, from those words, from those sentences, let's say, you can easily think that, first of all, she's a very hygienic character, and she loves tidiness, cleanness as well. So, she goes with Darbys to the picnics more and more. And it was a surprise, big surprise. But I also kept in with them for the opportunity of meeting people. So since the Darby family's friends are more, their environment is so more, she had a chance to meet with them as well. And Mom and Dad were pleased that I had made nice friends. So I didn't say anything about the cracked lino and the paintwork all chipped. The children's clothes were very shabby for a doctor, and she changed them out of their school clothes when they came home from school into those worn-out garments. Mom always kept us spotless to go out to play. Just pay attention to this sentence. Mom always kept us spotless. So Mom always made her children so clean, first of all, when they go out to play. And I do not like to say it, but those Darby children frequently looked like the Leary family, which the council evicted from our block as they were far from house proud. One day when I was there, Mavis, as I called Mrs. Darby by then, put her head out of the window and shouted to the boy, "John, stop peeling over the lawn." I didn't know which way to look. Mom would never say a word like that from the window, and I know for a fact that Trevor would never pass water outside, not even bathing in the sea. I went there usually at the weekends, but sometimes on weekdays after supper. They had an idea to make a match for me with a chemist's assistant whom they had taken up to. He was an orphan, and I do not say there was anything wrong with that. So we come across with a new character, chemist's assistant. But he was not accustomed to those little extras that I was. He was a good-looking boy, I will say that. So I went once to a dance and twice to films with him. To look at, he was quite clean in appearance, so again, another comparison. But there was only hot water at the weekend at his place, and he said that a bath once a week was sufficient. Jim, as I called Dr. Darby's by then, said it was sufficient also. Maybe for our main character it is insufficient to have a bath for a week. And surprised me. He didn't have much money, and I do not hold that against him. Maybe he is forgivable. But there was no hurry for me, and I could wait for a man in a better position so that I would not miss those little extras. So he started going out with a girl from the coffee bar, and I didn't come to the Darbys very much then. There were plenty of boys at the office, but I will say this for the Darbys. They had lots of friends coming and going, and they had interesting conversation, although sometimes it gave me a surprise and I didn't know where to look. And sometimes they had people who were very down and out. Just look at the glossary. And sometimes they had people who were very down and out, although there is no need to be. But most of the guests were different, so it made a comparison with the boys at the office who were not so educated in their conversation. So many uneducated people come and visit Dr. Darby and his family. Now it was near the time for Mavis to have her baby, and I was to come in at the weekend to keep an eye on the children, to look after the children, while the help had her day off. Mavis didn't go away to have her baby, but would have it at home in their double bed, as they didn't have twin beds, although he was a doctor. So this also makes our main character surprised. They are rich, but just think about in what kind of bed she stays. As they didn't have twin beds, although he was a doctor. A girl I knew in our block was engaged, but was let down, and even she had her baby in the labor ward. I was sure the bedroom was not hygienic for having a baby, but I didn't mention it. One day, after the baby boy came along, don't forget to call newly born babies baby boy, baby girl, they took me in the car to the country to see Jim's mother. The baby was put in a carry cot at the back of the car. He began to cry, and without a word of a lie, Jim said to him over his shoulder, "Oh, shut your gob, you little bastard." So this sentence is unfamiliar as well, cannot be said even for a well-educated character as being a doctor to his son. I didn't know what to do, and Mavis was smoking a cigarette. Dad would not dream of saying such a thing to Trevor, or I. When we arrived at Jim's mother's place, Jim said, "It's a 14th century cottage, Lorna." I could well believe it. It was very cracked and old, and it made one wonder how Jim could let his old mother live in this tumble-down, nearly collapsed cottage, as he was so good to everyone else. So Mavis knocked at the door, and the old lady came. There was not much anyone could do to the inside. Mavis said, "Isn't it charming, Lorna?" If that was a joke, it was going too far. I said to the old Mrs. Darby, "Are you going to be rehoused?" But she didn't understand this, and I explained how you have to apply to the council, because their kitchen was reorganized, remade in a way. So she gives an idea, an offer. But it was funny that the council had not done something already when they go round condemning. Then old Mrs. Darby said, "My dear, I shall be rehoused in the grave." I didn't know where to look. There was a carpet hanging on the wall, which I think was there to hide a damp spot. Again, the carpet on the wall was so dirty. She had a good TV set, I will say that. But some of the walls were bare brick, and the facilities were outside. Sıvalar dökülmüş, bakın dikkat edin. Through the garden. The furniture was far from new, very old. One Saturday afternoon, as I happened to go to the Darby's, there They were just going off to a film and they took me too. It was the Curzon. And afterwards we went to a flat in Curzon Street. It was very clean block, I will say that. And there were good carpets at the entrance. The couple there had contemporary furniture and they also spoke about music. It was a nice place, but there was no welfare center to the flats, where people could go for social intercourse, advice and guidance. But they were well spoken, and I met Willie Morland, another character, Morley, who was an artist. Willie sat beside me and we had a drink. He was young, dark, with a dark shirt, so one could not see right away if he was clean. Soon after this, Jim said to me, "Willie wants to paint you, Lorna, but you'd better ask your mom." Mom said it was all right if he was a friend of the Darbys. I can honestly say that Willie's place was the most, I go on with the last paragraph, unhygienic place I have seen in my life. He said I had an unusual type of beauty which he must capture. So the beautiness of Lorna is mentioned now. This was when we came back to his place from the restaurant. The light was very dim, but I could see the bed had not been made, and the sheets were far from clean. He said he must paint me, but I told Mavis I didn't like to go back there. "Don't you like Willie?" she asked. I could not deny that I liked Willie in a way. There was something about him, I will say that. Mavis said, "I hope he hasn't been making a pass at you, Lorna." I said he hadn't done so, which was almost true, because he didn't attempt to go to the full extent. It was always unhygienic when I went to Willie's place, and I told him so once, but he said, "Lorna, you are a joy." He had a nice way, and he took me out in his car, which was a good one, but dirty inside, like his place. Jim said one day, "He has pots of money, Lorna," and Mavis said, "You might make a man of him, as he is keen on you." To be keen on, don't forget. They always said Willie came from a good family. But I saw that one could not do anything with him. He would not change his shirt very often or get clothes, but he went round like a tramp, vagabond, lending people money, as I have seen with my own eyes. His place was in a terrible mess, with the empty bottles and laundry in the corner dresses around the corners. He gave me several gifts over the period, which I took as he would have only given them away. But he never tried to go to the full extent. He never painted my portrait, as he was painting food on a table all that time, and they said his pictures were marvelous, and I thought Willie and I were getting married. One night when I went home, I was upset as usual after Willie's place. Mom and Dad had gone to bed, and I looked round our kitchen, which is done in primrose and white. Then I went into the living room, where Dad has done one wall in a patterned paper, deep rose and white, and the other wall pale rose, with white woodwork. The suite is new, and Mom keeps everything beautiful. So it came to me all of a sudden, what a fool I was, going with Willie. I agreed to equality, but as to me marrying Willie, as I said to Mavis, when I recall his place and the good carpet gone greasy, not to mention the paint oozing out of the tubes, I think it would break my heart to sink so low. So this is the end of our story. Just look at the glossary and learn the new words expressions, and get ready for the questions. For the time being, I keep you all well, and keep yourself safe at home. Don't go out so much, and get ready for your each lessons. See you next week.